Wasn't there a lot of racism involved, including with regard to the ability of these troops? I mean, the dispatches from MacArthur's headquarters and so forth, and the stuff put out by this General Willoughby. His real name originally had not been Willoughby. He was a Prussian who came over to the United States in about 1908. And I don't know, it was like Wilberstein or something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, some of this stuff.
MacArthur called him my little fascist.
Yeah.
And his favorite people were Douglas MacArthur and Francisco Franco. He actually took taxpayers' money while he was intelligence chief in the Japan occupation to write a big 2-volume history of Franco's campaigns in North Africa to present to Franco. So he was a real piece of work, Willoughby. Well, Willoughby and MacArthur had a complete ethnic, well, how should I put this? Their entire intelligence was based on ethnic stereotypes.
Yeah, yeah.
They thought the North Koreans wouldn't be able to fight because the Orientals can't fight.
And that's after the war against Japan. You just
Right.
wonder where these guys' heads are at.
I mean, it's just a fact. When the CIA was pulling its hair out about 200,000 Chinese coming across the border into northern Korea, MacArthur was saying, you know, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. You know, Chinamen can't fight. And pretty soon, you know, they cleared North Korea in exactly 2 weeks of American forces. So, I mean, sometimes I wonder why the world isn't worse off than it is because people make such stupid, unbelievably, they base entire decisions that will affect the lives of hundreds of thousands of people on stupid biases.
Yeah.
I would say that was pretty widespread in 1950. Hanson Baldwin was the military correspondent in the New York Times, and he describes the North Koreans as like locusts, like Nazis, like vermin. They come shrieking on. What makes them come shrieking on? I mean, this is really hard stuff to read. You know, in an era when you don't get away with that kind of thinking anymore, certainly not in national newspapers. And then, I mean, Americans came from a segregated society. Truman had integrated the military, but they'd been dragging their feet on it, so most of the black units, most of the units that had blacks were mostly black, with white officers. Koreans couldn't marry Caucasians in about 15 states in 1950. They couldn't own property on the West Coast. They had to drink out of colored drinking fountains in Virginia. So, you know, we're not talking about a bunch of high-minded liberals coming into Korea. And the result was racism was just ubiquitous. Koreans were called gooks all the time. They're gooks, our gooks. Rapes were extremely common. Koreans in the South will still say, you know, that was one of the worst things of the war, is to see how many American soldiers were raping Korean women.
Never read about any of that, right?
You did, and the funny thing about this war is that I think because MacArthur thought he could get it over with so quickly, in the summer of 1950, you had reporters from Look magazine, Saturday Evening Post, Collier's, Life, and they're running around reporting on anything they see. And it became instantly a very, very dirty war. And they write about it. They say the troops are shooting civilians. The South Korean police are awful. They're, you know, opening up pits and putting hundreds of people in them. This is all true. And these were mostly war correspondents who had been in World War II. And they would say, this is a different kind of war. This is some sort of a people's war. Civilians are right in the middle of it. You know, the only real classic book, besides I.F. Stone's Hidden History, I guess, the only real classic book of the Korean War is by a British journalist called Cry Korea, Reginald Thompson. It's just been reissued. It deals with the first couple of years of the war before censorship descended. Within 6 months, censorship meant you can't say anything bad about our South Korean ally. Even if you see them blowing an old lady's head apart, you can't say that.
Let alone our own troops are doing.
So Reginald Thompson's book is a very good guide to that early period, but it was a very dirty war, and our commanders often thought that Orientals didn't appreciate or care about human life, that
Yeah.
they would give their own lives and anybody else's, which is another old shibboleth. You get a kind of flip side of that is, well, why should we care about them either
Yeah.
if they don't care about
Yeah.
themselves?
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.